Intimacy of touch with moon and Moola Nakshatra. With the moon in Moola, touch is an unearthing. It does not comfort, it reveals. You do not crave contact to feel held. You crave it to feel stripped clean of illusion. Touch, for you, is not merely a gesture. It is a descent into truth. To be touched deeply, you must first trust that what is exposed will not be controlled. Your emotional body only relaxes in presence that honors your sovereignty, even when you are raw, undone, or mid-collapse. Moola, rooted at the base of Sagittarius and ruled by Nirriti, the goddess of destruction and void, makes this one of the most intense lunar placements. Your moon does not seek surface affection. It responds to hands that do not fear your chaos. Fingers that do not rush to fix, but witness as you unravel. Touch that doesn't try to polish, but stays for the excavation. You feel the truth behind a hand before it lands. If the energy is false, performative, or needy, your body becomes still, guarded. Even affectionate touch, if done out of fear, guilt, or unclear motives, can feel like violation. But when someone approaches with reverence for your fire, with clarity and courage, you soften in ways that even you didn't think possible. In your giving, touch is not tender for its own sake. It is sacred transmission. You may press your hand over someone's heart during their breakdown. You may hold them during silence, not to soothe, but to say, I'm not afraid of what's real. You touch like a truth teller, not a comforter. And your presence is remembered like an initiation. But if you're disconnected from your inner root, if you're overwhelmed, grieving, or in the middle of internal upheaval, you may withhold touch entirely. Not because you don't feel, but because your field is reconfiguring. In these moments, your body becomes a temple under reconstruction. You need partners who don't demand access while you're rebuilding. To deepen this intimacy, speak your truth clearly. Say, I open most to touch that meets me in truth, not performance. I want to be touched like I can fall apart in your hands and still be respected. Or I touch when I'm aligned, and when I don't, it's not withdrawal, it's realignment. And allow yourself to receive touch that holds space, not pressure. Let someone place a hand on your shoulder without rushing your grief. Let someone's embrace stabilize your storm without needing to name it. Let the body of another meet you not to tame your wildness, but to honor your root. Because when touch becomes not intrusion, but recognition of your inner unraveling, when it meets you in truth, not fear, your Moola moon finds the intimacy it was built to birth. A love that does not flinch in the face of destruction. A presence that says, you do not need to be put back together to be held. I will touch what is real, even when it burns. Intimacy of sensate with moon and Moola Nakshatra. To be heard, seen, tasted, smelled at physical sensory levels. With the moon in Moola, sensory experience is not passive. It is piercing. You don't just see or hear, you register. Every tone, scent, glance, and vibration enters you like a blade or a balm. You do not interact with the world through soft filters. You sense through the root of things. For you, intimacy through the senses is a test of truth, not a search for comfort. Moola is ruled by Nirriti, the goddess of dissolution and primal void. This makes your moon relentlessly honest, stripping away superficiality to get to the raw pulse underneath. You may walk into a room and feel whether something is off by the flicker in someone's gaze or the tension in the silence. Your emotional body is tied to sensory accuracy. If someone says, I love you, in a voice tinged with doubt, you know. If their eyes slide past you while you're opening your soul, you close. Your sensory field is wired for authentic intensity, not sensory overload. You don't need elaborate gestures or poetic surroundings, but you need presence, stillness, a steady voice that doesn't flinch, a hand that lingers, not because it's trying to own, but because it chooses to stay. You need to feel that the world around you is not pretending. In intimacy, this makes you drawn to elemental expression. You feel most seen in settings that are stripped bare. Candlelight, natural scent, deep eye contact, silence filled with tension and meaning. A shared meal, a breathless stare, the sound of someone's voice breaking when they speak the truth. These moments move you more than orchestrated romance ever could. When you give sensory intimacy, it comes through devotional directness. You may speak little, but your voice lands like thunder when it's sincere. You may touch minimally, but when you do, it's with entire presence. You may notice what others miss, the hair standing on someone's arm, the tremble in their breath, the taste of grief behind their laughter. But sensory falsehood repels you. Overly rehearsed words, synthetic fragrances masking insecurity, touch that feels like distraction rather than attunement. These create emotional dissonance. Your nervous system closes like a locked gate, not out of arrogance, but from sheer need for clarity and safety. To deepen this intimacy, say, I notice everything. I need what's around me to be real, not polished, not loud, just emotionally honest. Or, I'm most open when what I sense matches what's true. If you're present, let me feel it, don't perform it. And allow yourself to savor the moment without dissecting it. Let yourself hear a kind tone and believe in its intention. Let yourself feel a warm touch and not prepare for its withdrawal. Let yourself be seen without bracing for distortion. Because when sensory intimacy becomes not seduction, but sacred signal, when it arrives stripped of pretense and rich with presence, your Moola moon finds the depth it was born to experience. A love that doesn't decorate the moment, but inhabits it completely. A connection that says, I don't need to impress your senses. I need to reach your root. Let's meet there without disguise. Intimacy of kindness with Moon and Moola Nakshatra. Approach should always be one of kindness and compassion, giving each other space to be individual and unique, yet caring and nurturing. With the Moon and Moola, kindness must be real, or it doesn't exist at all. Your soul does not respond to niceties, platitudes, or practiced pleasantries. You are not soothed by surface sweetness. You are steadied by truth laced with tenderness. To you, real kindness is when someone sees your fire and doesn't try to put it out. When they hold space for your destruction and rebirth, not just your light. Moola, rooted in the galactic center and ruled by Nirriti, the goddess of disintegration, makes your emotional body a place of soul excavation. You are here to dismantle illusions, including those in love. So when someone offers kindness, it must not be to pacify you or escape your intensity. It must come from courage. The courage to say, I'm not trying to fix you. I'm staying through the undoing. You thrive when kindness is fierce and clear. When someone doesn't shy away from your anger, your silence, your depth. You don't need gentle words if they're hollow, but you melt for the hard-won tenderness. The kind that arrives after someone has seen you erupt, fall, question, and still chooses to say, I trust you're coming back to center and I'll be here when you do. In turn, your kindness is not comforting in the conventional sense. You don't coddle. You strip away what's false in those you love. You point them back to their truth, even if it hurts. You walk into their shadows, not to pity, but to remind them they can stand up. You offer strength, not softness. But your strength is your compassion. It's the kind that stays when everything else falls apart. But if kindness becomes performance, if someone offers care to avoid conflict, or pretends to be understanding without actually staying present, you notice. You withdraw. Not to be cruel, but to protect your emotional truth from distortion. Your moon cannot abide emotional dishonesty, even if it's wrapped in kindness. To deepen this intimacy, speak what kindness means in your world. Say, I don't need you to save me. I need you to stay with me while I save myself. Or, kindness to me is when you don't flinch at my intensity. When you love me through the fire, not just after it dies down. And allow yourself to receive care that doesn't weaken you. Let someone be kind without trying to soften your edges. Let their presence remind you that you can be held and still whole. You don't have to reject nurturing to prove your strength. Because when kindness becomes not decoration, but devotion to authenticity, when it honors your wildness as much as your wounds, your Moola moon finds the intimacy it truly needs. A love that doesn't edit your soul, but stands beside it, undeterred. A bond that says, you are intense, uprooting, sometimes terrifying, and still I choose to love you here. Intimacy of growth with Moon and Moola Nakshatra, allowing each to grow at their own pace, yet being self-honoring by allowing themselves to be loved and nurtured even if it means with other partners. With the Moon and Moola, growth is not linear. It is cataclysmic, sacred, and non-negotiable. You were not born to maintain. You were born to shed skins, burn illusions, and emerge from the ashes over and over. For you, love must make room for metamorphosis, even when it's inconvenient, even when it leaves what came before unrecognizable. Moola, governed by Nirriti, the goddess of destruction, gives your emotional body a relentless hunger for truth and transformation. You cannot fake stability. If a relationship becomes a cage for who you used to be, you will tear it down, sometimes ruthlessly. Growth, for you, is not a gentle arc. It's often an earthquake, and you need intimacy that can survive the tremors. You are fiercely loyal when you are respected in your evolution. But the moment your expansion is questioned, stifled, or emotionally manipulated in the name of keeping things together, your soul rebels. You require a partner who doesn't cling to your past versions, but who recommits to who you're becoming without needing to own or shape that path. This also means you can hold space for your partner's evolution, even when it disrupts the form of the bond. You don't fear change, you fear emotional dishonesty. If your partner needs time apart, space to evolve, or even to explore other forms of connection, you can accept it, as long as the core contract of truth and clarity is intact. Betrayal for you is not difference, it's deception. Your deepest need is not comfort, it's alignment with your soul's evolution. And when you are loved in that space, not just tolerated, but celebrated for your death and rebirth cycles, you offer a kind of loyalty that's primal and indestructible. To deepen this intimacy, say, I grow in cycles. I shed things that no longer align, even if they once felt like home. I need love that lets me shift without guilt. Or, you don't have to grow at my pace, but I need to know we're both committed to truth over convenience. And allow yourself to be loved while still becoming. You don't have to finish your unraveling to be worthy of intimacy. Let someone hold you while you're still scorched and unfinished. Let love enter the furnace, not just meet you after the dust has settled. Because when growth becomes not rupture but ritual, when it is honored as holy rather than feared as threat, your Moola moon finds the intimacy it was forged for. A love that evolves with you, not in spite of you. A connection that says, even if you burn the path behind you, I will meet you at your next becoming, with clear eyes and open hands. Intimacy of activity with moon in Moola Nakshatra. To be honoring of oneself and the other in what and with whom they want to participate in activities without force or compulsion. With the moon in Moola, activity must be meaningful or it must be left behind. You don't move to distract, you move to unearth, to experience, to transform. You are not drawn to shallow togetherness or social performance. If an activity does not nourish the soul or sharpen the truth, your emotional body begins to feel restless, even rebellious. You crave action that aligns with purpose, instinct, and freedom. Moola, governed by Nirriti, the goddess of dissolution, pulls you toward what is raw, real, and rooted. That includes how you share time and space. You do not want to be coaxed into rituals that feel empty or obligatory. You want to choose your presence, and for your partner to do the same. Anything less feels like emotional falseness. You'd rather be alone in alignment than together in performance. You are most intimate when activity becomes a portal to truth, not a performance of bonding, a silent hike that cracks something open in you, a fierce debate that reveals the core values beneath your love, a shared ritual, whether wild or quiet, that reminds you that you're both alive and awake. These are the kinds of activities where you actually feel close. You also need freedom to follow your own rhythm. Some days, you need to move alone, to travel inward, or physically shift your world without consultation. You are not anti-commitment, you are anti-constraint. The intimacy you seek honors that difference. It says, go, move in your way, I'll be here, not waiting, but walking my own path until we meet again. In turn, you honor your partner's independence without jealousy. If they need to attend something without you, explore their interests, or even seek other kinds of company, you don't take it personally. You take it as a sign of their integrity, if it's done with clarity. What you cannot tolerate is passive presence, going through the motions without meaning. To deepen this intimacy, express your values around shared activity. Say, I don't need us to do everything together. I need what we do together to feel real. Or, I'm not moved by proximity. I'm moved by purpose. Let's choose presence, not obligation. And allow yourself to experience joy without mission. Let yourself participate in something silly, light, even unstructured. Not because it changes you, but because it connects you. Let laughter land. Let movement be play. Let love be felt through the ease of shared space, not just through fire and evolution. Because when activity becomes not demand but devotion to presence, when what you do together honors truth, autonomy, and timing, your Moola moon finds the intimacy it naturally craves, a love that moves with you, not at you. A connection that says, we don't have to do everything as one, we only have to honor what's alive between us, whenever and wherever it appears. Intimacy of allowance with moon in Moola Nakshatra. To allow each to be who and what they are at any given moment, day, or week of their life, knowing that one is not a master or slave of another. With the moon in Moola, allowance is not a kindness. It is a requirement. Your emotional system cannot breathe in environments that try to confine, edit, or manage you. You need to be allowed to disintegrate and regenerate, to have days where you are uprooted and fierce, and others where you are soft and stripped bare. You don't expect anyone to understand your cycles perfectly, but you need them to honor them. Moola, ruled by Nirriti, the goddess of radical undoing, infuses your moon with a deep imperative to unbecome before you evolve. This means your inner world is not always consistent, but it is always truthful. And the deepest form of love for you is the freedom to be all of it, without judgment, without fixing, without performance. You crave space where you can say, today, I'm not the version you met yesterday. And for that not to threaten the connection, but to deepen it. The ones who remain close to you over time are those who learn to stay, not by holding you in place, but by holding space as you shift. Not asking what's wrong, but instead asking, what are you becoming today? In return, you offer the same sacred allowance. You are drawn to people who evolve, who contradict themselves, who burn out and come back changed. You don't need predictability. You need presence with honesty. You hold space for people's mess and emergence. But what you can't tolerate is emotional cowardice. Don't hide behind politeness. Don't say you're fine when you're unraveling. You'd rather be pierced by the truth than soothed by the surface. What collapses your trust is when someone starts clinging to the version of you they liked best, when they ask you to stay soft, or loving, or light, even when you are deep in excavation. That kind of conditional closeness feels like a cage. To deepen this intimacy, offer your map. Say, I don't always know who I'll be tomorrow, but I promise I'll be real. Can you love me through that? Or, if I pull away, don't chase me with fear. Let me burn and return in my own rhythm. And allow yourself to be held while being inconsistent. You don't need to retreat every time you shift. Let someone stay close, not to control or correct, but to witness you in flux. Let yourself be received even when you can't name what's happening inside you. Because when allowance becomes not absence, but attuned presence, when it gives breath to your becoming without needing to label it, your Moola moon finds the intimacy it was designed to survive and flourish within. A love that says, you are not broken when you're transforming. You are not hard to love when you're in between. I am here for the unraveling and the rising, and I will not flinch. Intimacy of giving with moon in Moola Nakshatra. Knowing and being that all love originates in the act of giving safety of space, nurturing, and caring. With the moon in Moola, giving is elemental. It's not an offering of affection, it's an offering of truth. You don't give love to ease discomfort. You give to awaken, to anchor, to burn away what is false between you and another. Your care does not come in sugar-coated packaging. It comes in soul-rooted presence. When you love, you give from the deepest place of knowing. This connection matters, so I will not give it lightly. Moola, ruled by Nirriti, the goddess of dissolution, teaches that the real act of love is to dismantle what isn't real, and still stay. Your moon is forged in the fire of inner excavation, so when you give, it is with fierce intention. You might give someone time, not just out of affection, but because you know they need space to break down. You might speak one clear sentence that slices through fog, not to harm, but to free. You might offer complete presence without needing to fix, just to say, I'm with you in the underworld, and I'm not afraid. Your style of giving may be misunderstood by those who expect softness to always look sweet, but your nurture is unflinching. You hold space like sacred ground. You see what someone is not saying, and give them the dignity of not rushing to fill it. You offer truth when others offer comfort, because you know truth is the deeper balm. Yet, you are discerning in your giving. You won't pour endlessly into someone who cannot hold what you offer. If your care is dismissed, romanticized, or consumed without accountability, you retreat. Not to punish, but because you give from depth, and depth must be honored. You also require space to give in your own rhythm. You may disappear while you recalibrate, and then return with intensity and insight. Your love is not consistent in form, but it is utterly loyal in spirit. And when you choose to give again, you give something that roots the soul. To deepen this intimacy, speak to your style of love. Say, when I care, it may not always look soft, but I give from a place that sees the soul, not just the smile. Or, don't expect me to give like everyone else. I give in ways that change you, because I see the real you. And allow yourself to give without condition. Not just when it's received with grace, not just when it's perfect, but because giving is part of how your soul breathes. Let your giving be a quiet revolution, not to be thanked, but to root something lasting in another's life. Because when giving becomes not performance, but presence that transforms, your Moola moon finds the intimacy it was born to offer. A love that does not decorate, but liberates. A care that says, I give this because it's true. I give this because I trust what we are becoming, even if we have to destroy everything false to get there. Intimacy of receiving with moon in Moola Nakshatra. Knowing and being that intimacy is an act of receiving with gratitude and originates in the inner feeling of being abundant in giving, receiving another at all levels, physical, emotional, and mental. With the moon in Moola, receiving is radical. It is not soft surrender. It is a sacred risk. You don't let just anyone enter your field, your silence, your story. To receive someone fully means letting them touch your root, the place where everything else is stripped away. And that requires a trust deeper than comfort. It requires a love that doesn't flinch in the face of your rawness. Moola, ruled by Nirriti, the goddess of endings in the void, makes you fiercely self-contained. You are used to finding clarity in solitude, reclaiming power through collapse, walking away from what no longer serves, even if it once felt like home. You've likely learned to survive without leaning. So when someone tries to give love, care, patience, your first instinct may be to scan for strings, to wonder what they want in return. But your soul longs to receive, not for dependency, not for reassurance, but for coherence. You want to be received as you are, and so in return, you want to be able to receive others with full presence. Yet that can only happen when you allow yourself to let down the sword, even momentarily, and say, I don't need to carry it all alone today. When receiving feels safe to you, it becomes ritualistic. A glance you actually let land. A word of affirmation that doesn't bounce off your defenses. A touch that sinks into the places you've guarded for lifetimes. You don't open wide. You open precisely. And when you do, you transform the very energy of the exchange. The giver feels seen by how fully you receive. But you are also sensitive to false generosity. If care comes with unspoken expectations, with control masked as compassion, or with spiritual bypassing, your system revolts. You may physically recoil, emotionally freeze, or intellectually dismantle the gesture. Your moon can only receive what is clean, honest, and unforced. To deepen this intimacy, name what receiving requires for you. Say, when you give without needing to be seen as good, I can receive you fully. Or, it's hard for me to open to care, but when I do, it means you've reached my root. These are not vulnerabilities. They are instructions for soul contact. And allow yourself to receive before you feel ready. Let the kindness land even if your body is tense. Let the meal be made for you. Let someone run their hand down your back without analyzing their motive. Let your guard rest, even briefly. You are not weak for needing. You are human, holy, and worthy. Because when receiving becomes not obligation or fear, but permission to be held without being owned, your Moola moon finds the intimacy it was forged to meet. A love that says, you don't need to rebuild yourself to be worthy of care. I see what remains when all else burns, and I choose to love you there.